got to take big chances in order for the potential for a big positive outcome.
Hello everyone, welcome back to A Boring Revolution, your #1 news source for everything in regards to the Boring Company. I hope you're all well. Coming to you with a very quick episode today, quick news update on the Boring Company. Quite a few interesting things going on, and I've got an opinion on something which I hope that you guys find interesting in regards to how things are going to kind of turn out in Las Vegas in terms of construction methodology. So let's have a quick look at what's going on. So as you know, the first phase of Resorts World was completed. They are now operating that system. It is running very, very efficiently. And we are hopefully looking towards doing further such extensions. So let's move on to the next part. Here we go. Let's see what's going on here. And so let's have a look at today's topic. So we've got potentially what I believe is a new construction strategy for Las Vegas. Now, it might just be that it's they're adapting to the particular site constraints that they faced at the moment at Riviera Station, but I think that this makes a lot of sense for rolling out across the Las Vegas system. I've got an update on Resorts World in terms of what I think is going to happen with that, and also unfortunately we have some bad news in regards to the Ontario Airport Loop, which has my favourite station, Rancho Cucamonga, but unfortunately we will never see that. So let's have a look at potentially a new construction strategy. So as you know, this is what the setup looked like when they were building the first phase of Resorts World, and they are perfectly exhibiting this construction technique known as porpoising, where basically they start at the surface at a slight incline, maybe around 12 to 15 degrees. They pivot the machine, it's sat on this cradle here, and then the machine is driven into the ground, and then at the other end you do the reverse, essentially. So this saves you having to build both a reception shaft and a launch pit, and thus that saves you not only time but money, and allows you to finish the project potentially quicker as well. So there's a lot of advantages to this system. It appears that they have modified this technique and they are incorporating another technique. It's kind of a compromise between using a launch pit and using porpoising, and it's an exact copy, if not a perfect copy, of the URUP method, which is ultra rapid underpass, which is being commonly used in Japan. So as you can see on the screen here, we have our kind of conveyor belt system at the back here, which is this tall structure with lots of cross bracing. We've got the back end of the machine, and then to the right hand side of that we have our kind of spoil heap area. This is what your traditional kind of reception shaft launch pit looks like. As you can see, it's fairly big. This particular system is benefiting from the use of CFA piles, and there's been some additional reinforcements added at the base of this shaft because it is so deep. Potentially it's 50, 60, maybe even 70 foot deep. I've heard of 100 foot deep shafts in Singapore. So you know, these things get very expensive very, very quickly. Top right is what they're doing in Las Vegas at Resorts World. So why do I like this? Why do I particularly like this methodology? Well, as you can see, there are some key elements here. We have our kind of retaining wall, which are these precast concrete segments here to the left and the right. In fact, let me just pull up my pen and I'll just start documenting some particular elements. Just one moment. Okay, so as with any launch pit, you know, you're going to need some reinforcements in there. So we have our props. As you can see, there is some bracing here. What looks like potentially the formation of a ring beam. You're possibly wondering why they have closed off one end of this with an I-beam and then not closed the front of it off with an I-beam. Instead, they've used this prop here. I don't believe this is the end of the false work here. I believe they're going to extend it like down here, and then they will cap it off, as it were. So what's good about this particular system? Well, first of all, it's quite a shallow excavation, which means it's going to be quick to construct, reasonably easy. You don't need considerable supports in regards to this retaining wall, which means you can get started fairly quickly. Costs are lower, but also you're taking advantage of your cradle system here. It is kind of a hybrid. It's a kind of a hybrid system, and the reason why I particularly like this is you're going to have to do a lot of setting up on site anyway when you bring your TBM there. So you have the time to not only set up your TBM but concurrently excavate this kind of shallow launch pit, and then you can drop in your kind of porpoising techniques here with your cradle, with your TBM, and then the back end of your machine. And you start at a lower level, which makes things a lot easier. You're going to have a lot less subsidence in this area here, a lot less. You still don't need your wall here in front of the TBM, and it's just generally not going to cause you as many issues launching the machine, because you're at the perfect depth really. So you're looking at around 14-15 foot depth here, roundabout approximately. So that's good. I expect that they will do this with the launch pits as well. So when a machine breaks through on the other side, it will break through into an area similar to this, with your bracing and your props. And I expect that they will kind of standardize these wall panels here, these prefabricated wall panels, because it's just an easy way to make a retaining wall. You start with excavation, you backfill in the area behind the wall after you've installed the wall panels, install your false work, install your props, and then you can get going. And it's just easy, simple way to do things. So this is how we're gonna, I imagine, this might be a one-off, I'm not too sure, but I guess we'll find out in the future. So it makes a lot of sense to me because it's not too expensive to do this. There's lots of benefits to doing this rather than doing a 30-foot launch pit in terms of cost, in terms of like how the actual length of time it takes you to kind of set this up. This can be done 2 to 3 weeks very easily, possibly a lot less than that over time. And with standardized kind of systems like these wall panels, it's going to be easy, especially if you're using the same kind of group of guys on site. You know, they'll get used to running this system, and it'll be even faster over time. So I expect that to roll out fairly quickly. What else is going on at the moment? So so just to give you a visualization, this is the URUP method. This is kind of your traditional setup. As you can see, it gets fairly deep. Obviously there's not an excavator in the tunnel, as it were, but this, as you can see, it starts just above the surface at an incline, just like this does. So all in all, I like that a lot. Okay, so let's just, sorry about that. So Resorts World, what is going on at Resorts World at the moment? They're currently working on phase 2 and 3. I anticipate phase 2 and 3 will essentially be all the same. Why do I say that? Well, they are starting up here with the previous image, and then they're going to terminate down here. So I anticipate that they will bore this all in one single section, and when they get to here, they'll have some kind of reception shaft, or maybe they won't even have a reception shaft. They'll just kind of excavate the existing tunnel lining and then deconstruct it. That would probably be an even better option, but there are some benefits obviously to having a reception shaft there in terms of building your ramps and things like that. So it's difficult to say what will happen there, but I'm pretty confident that the TBM will go all the way down here and then it will come out here. So it will be done all in one section. So the hard bit of the construction process will be done with one TBM rather than having it done in stages and resetting up. I think that adds cost, it adds complexity, and it generally extends the program of the job. So we don't like that, but we'll see what happens. Ontario Airport loop has been canned. Now, unfortunately, it was not a preferred project for the Boeing company because of it's in the state of California. As you know, with the bureaucracy in California, it's going to take 3, 4, maybe even 5 years to get a project of this size over the line. And if you compare that to projects Austin, projects in South Texas, projects in Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, it's just twice as long, twice as much paperwork, twice as much waiting, twice as many hearings, and at the end of the day, you don't need all that. You're better off focusing on states and cities that are open to new ideas and have much less paperwork and are much more open to approving your scheme, because they could put 4 years into this and then they could get rejected, or they could be told that they need to do X, Y, Z and it's going to take another 2 years, and it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it, and it adds a lot of complexity and cost. So unfortunately, the Boeing company has decided to walk away. So it was their decision. They decided that it was not worth the aggravation. This has happened. They've really struggled in California to try and get projects off the ground, which is disappointing because this is where Elon Musk is based. Obviously, he wants to build projects in California, but there's just too much bureaucracy. There's too many environmental plans. There's too many hurdles to jump over, and at the end of the day, it adds to cost and it eats up manpower. The Boeing company doesn't exactly have tons of manpower at the moment, so it's not really worth doing. So this project has been cancelled, just like the Chicago project was cancelled, and just like the Baltimore to Washington DC project was cancelled. Unfortunately, too many hurdles in the way. A Boeing company is obviously going to focus on projects that are a lot easier to get past the planning stage. You may have heard me in a previous video say the hardest bit is getting the planning approval. That's why I was so happy about Las Vegas. And in this case, it was just too much. It just wasn't worth the effort to push this over the line. We will never see Rancho Cucamonga Station, unfortunately. What a name, beautiful name. But lots of good news. I mean, the Boeing company doesn't really need to tender for any projects at the moment. It really shouldn't. What Steve Davis and the Boeing company should focus on is getting the project in Miami done, getting the project in Fort Lauderdale done, and getting all these projects in Texas done, and obviously setting up the various test sites and commissioning Prufrock 2 and 3. That's all they need to focus on at the moment. They don't need to tender for any additional projects. If people reach out and they want the Boeing company to tender, it might be worth the Boeing company's time just to say, I'm sorry, we've got too many projects on at the moment, we don't have enough people, and we're going to have to turn you down. Very, very sorry. Because they are better off focusing on existing projects that they have basically almost started. Because there's a good few projects that they've almost started on, and that's going to eat up a lot of new manpower. They're going to have to start recruiting big time to get those projects completed successfully. Okay, so I think we'll finish on that terrible note, but a lot of good news. If you've not already done so, please like and subscribe to the channel. Please comment on the video if you've seen anything that you particularly like. What are your thoughts on the kind of hybrid TBM launching system that they are kind of trialing in Las Vegas? Do you think that is a better method than porpoising, or would you prefer we go back to launch pits like the traditional industry has been doing for the last 70 years? Please consider following me on Twitter, Patreon and Discord. And to all my Patreons, as always, thank you so much for supporting me. Yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and I guess we will see you on the next one. And remember, guys, don't be boring. See you, and good night.
Tiger uppercut! Come get some.